Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Kneecaps 2021. I'm Chris Callahan. I'm the director of Kneecaps, and I work for UVM Extension as an agricultural engineer as well. I'm really glad to have everybody here. Just a couple of reminders, we are on a Zoom during this meeting, and so just please pay attention to muting your mic when you're not talking, and get comfortable with the chat box as well. We might be finding that useful as we get into our conversations together. I owe a huge amount of thanks to Elizabeth Newbold, my partner in all of this, the assistant director of Kneecaps, for really pulling together the details of this meeting and working closely with our partners at Perform Media for making it really come together. Thank you all for that. And also, thank you all. I know we've probably all had some unique travel delays this year. You know, we're using this new thing called Zoom. And I know, for example, that there was a delay in Amherst this year because of burnt toast in the kitchen. And then I also heard there was a Lego log jam in Lancaster this morning. And somebody else, I think it was Rochester, had to shovel snow to get to the woodshed this morning. And most of all, last but not least, there was a cream shortage in Essex. So everybody has had delays getting here. I appreciate you all making it through and finding your way here. The other thank yous that are in order are to your families. Usually I try to acknowledge the fact that our families make it possible for us to travel to the conference, be together in those lovely ballrooms that we're always in together. And this year, they've had to give up different ways and really be supportive. And whether that's giving up some bandwidth, so your kids aren't playing Minecraft or Among Us this morning, so you can be here. That's great of them. And maybe it's your four-legged family members who are, not knocking down your door to step over your keyboard. Whatever it is, thank you to your families for being supportive of you to attend today's meeting. So, in all seriousness, why are we here? Kneecaps exists to really connect the region around topics of food safety. And I'm grateful for all of you for being part of that work and being part of Kneecaps and making it to the meeting today. In the past several years, we've really listened to the feedback on the evaluation forms from the annual meeting and have really taken it to heart and tried to redesign each year. So, for example, if you haven't been to Kneecaps before, you may not see this, but this is a different setup than we've had in previous years. And I'm grateful again to Elizabeth and the organizing committee for making it what it is and being responsive to the needs that have come through in those evaluations and in other feedback. Some of the ways that people noted Kneecaps being supportive and helpful in the past have been, for example, finding new people to co-teach trainings with. People from other states, maybe the other end of the region or the other end of the country. The other way is people finding resources on the clearinghouse. And so Elizabeth will talk a little bit about the clearinghouse in detail. New collaborations on grant projects and funding sources. Increased collaboration between extension, state partners, even industry partners. I was able to participate in a training last spring that involved all three in one training. It was really fantastic. So the other reason we're here is to have a conversation with purpose. You'll see, and maybe you've already reviewed the agenda, and we're going to be going into a video here shortly to outline it. But this meeting really is about facilitating conversation around topics that matter to achieve a better consolidated plan or shared vision about where to go, at least over the next year and even longer. So to that end, I want to remind everybody that each year we have people who are new to Kneecaps, new to food safety, new to the region, new to the roles they're in. And so welcome them in. If you've been here a while, welcome them in. Acknowledge the fact that they may not have all the acronyms at hand and may not know the lingo or the jargon. So let's try to make sure we're making space for everybody to understand what we're talking about. If you are new, ask lots of questions. You have as much right to ask questions as anybody else. You're welcome, and we would like to make sure that you're part of these conversations. The other point is we all have different experiences in this food safety world, and it's important to remember that that's one of the key reasons we're here, is to share our experiences and hear the experiences from others as we're going through this together. We're going to be going into several facilitated breakout sessions during the next 2 days. If you are somebody who is more free to speak by nature, try stepping back a little bit, make some space for others who might be more naturally prone to stepping back. And if you're more prone to stepping back, I'm going to ask you to step forward. Find your inner Little Miss Sunshine and be part of the conversation. The other thing is I'm going to leave you with is we're here to share with each other, and we're here to support each other, and we're here to form relationships and lasting partnerships to improve food safety. Thank you. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Chris. Now this morning we are going to just get a summary of Kneecaps, remind everybody what Kneecaps is, where the history is from, how we formed, and then go through some of the deliverables and objectives and activities that have been accomplished by Kneecaps throughout the last 12 months since we were together in Philadelphia last year. Thank you.
Welcome everybody to the 2021 Kneecaps annual meeting. For those who are new to Kneecaps, Kneecaps stands for the Northeast Center to Advance Food Safety. We're glad to have you all with us this year. Even though we can only meet virtually, we still expect this to be a fantastic opportunity for us to share experiences and learn together and continue to grow. The primary goal of Kneecaps is to enhance produce safety and preventive controls, training, education, and outreach among small and medium-sized farms and small processors in the Northeast region of the United States. This is who we are and what we aim to do. We are a collection of university researchers, educators, and extension specialists, state regulatory and enforcement agency partners, local food and farming organizations, not-for-profits, consultants, and industry associations, small, medium-sized producers, small processors, and buyers. We also work closely with the other regional centers and initiatives, the lead regional center, formerly known as the National Center, and our partners at the USDA and FDA, among other agencies. Again, our goal is to enhance produce safety and preventive controls training, education, and outreach among small, medium-sized farms and small processors in the Northeast. The 5 objectives that lead to this goal include establishing a foundational network structure, building capacity, competency, and collaboration within the region, develop and deliver educational programs, evaluate and assess our progress and our impact, and work to sustain the good work that we've been doing. Kneecaps all started way back in 2015 in Amherst, Mass, and it started it with a different name. It was a small little project and a small little collection of people that wanted to work towards a post-harvest research and extension service hub. The main motivation was that we found there was really disparate opinion, accuracy, and location of knowledge around post-harvest practices, including those that deal with produce safety and preventive controls. There were often overlapping and non-coordinated efforts in the region. It was largely based on field experiences, shared among peers who happened to be connected, but not shared widely or consistently. It often lacked regional relevance and even research base. So this planning grant was to focus on how we might improve that practice, how we might be able to share better among each other and share resources that were developed, and even think about what resources should be developed, and to do it together. This all led to the Northeast Center to Advance Food Safety when, in 2015, heading into 2016, there was a call for proposals to establish 4 regional centers throughout the country. The Northeast Center to Advance Food Safety is one of those 4 regional centers. The others are based in the North Central region, the Western region, and the Southern Center and the Southern region. Our basic structure really hasn't changed dramatically since we started, although how the work gets done has. Elizabeth will talk more about that after this initial introduction. And those changes have largely come about as a result of the discussions we've had at the annual meetings and specific requests or ideas that have come up as a result of either informal networking or our organized and facilitated discussions. This is the general structure of Kneecaps. we do have some proposals for the group that would change this slightly. Again, not in terms of the structure, but in terms of how we do the work. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Again, welcome to the annual meeting. Please remember that this is one of the few opportunities we have to really collect and gather and discuss all the various perspectives we all bring to the important topic of produce safety and preventive controls. We've outlined an agenda for the meeting that really does try to leverage all those multiple and different perspectives and to try to chart a course for improvement for our stakeholders. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm excited to share the summary of Kneecaps activities over the past year with everyone. First, Kneecaps is collecting pre- and post-test information related to the Produce Safety Alliance PSA Grower Training course. If you request financial support for educational delivery from Kneecaps, we ask that you use and report your pre-test data to us. Although everyone across the Northeast region is welcome and encouraged to use this evaluation when delivering a PSA training. These tests can be found on the Food Safety Resource Clearinghouse. We've developed an Excel sheet where you can enter your data, either indexed or not, and then send it back to Kneecaps. We will then analyze the responses and return the form to you with the summarized data for your use. We will also aggregate results into regional and national evaluation, which will be made available. As you can see on the screen, and it can be found on the Resources tab of this conference site, the summary of the 5 trainings sent to Kneecaps in 2020. As you can see, there was documented knowledge gain across those trainings. Next, Kneecaps has built and maintains a national water testing lab map. You can view the map at go.uvm.edu/waterlabmap. The goal of this map is to help produce growers locate a lab that is geographically close to them and has the capacity to perform at least one of the methods approved by the FDA for ag water testing. All of the information included in this map has been confirmed by the lab, so a grower can be confident that the lab can perform the test needed and that the lab has received information about the testing methods required under the produce safety rule. This map and the survey labs need to complete to opt in to inclusion in the map can be found on the Food Safety Resources Clearinghouse. As part of that Clearinghouse post, there is also a list of all the labs on the map and their associated information. So if you'd rather view this content in PDF form, that is now available and updated quarterly. Next, I'd like to take a little bit of time to share with you some work recently released through the Extension Legal Services Initiative. This project is a 3-year partnership between Kneecaps and the Center for Agriculture and Food Systems at Vermont Law School. This was a major effort that identified, researched, and provided educational resources relating to key legal questions associated with compliance with the FSMA Produce Safety Rule. The project utilized the skills of 10 law students who worked as student clinicians at the clinic at Vermont Law School. I also need to mention the very active advisory board of experts from across the industry that gave careful review and feedback to all of the educational materials created. The website for this project is lc.kneecaps.org, and this site houses all the content created through this project. And I'm going to take a minute now to walk through all the material that you'll find on this site. FSMA PSR State Implementation Map. This map helps illustrate the specifics of each state's individual produce safety program. The interactive map can be filtered by common questions about state implementation of the PSR, allowing for states across the nation to be viewed side by side. FSMA PSR coverage and exemption for farms with multiple business entities. This fact sheet identifies several factors for producers and regulators to consider when determining whether multiple business entities should be considered a single farm operation under the PSR or not. Through several examples, this fact sheet describes how day-to-day activities, management, and farm financial structure can inform this determination. FSMA supply chain program requirements for processors and their produce suppliers. This fact sheet clarifies a processor's responsibilities under the FSMA Preventive Controls for Human Food Rule when working with exempt and qualified exempt eligible farms, and qualified mixed-type facilities, and it outlines what documentation the processor needs to obtain from these suppliers to be compliant with the FSMA PC rule. Using the FDA TAN and the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, to access information about FSMA. This fact sheet explains how privacy concerns may limit FDA's ability to release TAN questions and answers. However, if a person wants to access this information, they can ask the FDA to release it through a FOIA request. And this fact sheet outlines the process for submitting a FOIA request to the FDA. Understanding the relationship between FDA rules, guidance, and other communications. This fact sheet outlines the difference between the FDA rules, guidance, and other communications and explains whether they are legally binding and when producers must follow them. Produce farms, foodborne illness, and legal liability. This fact sheet emphasizes that producers have long been subject to liability laws, and it outlines the nuance that FSMA adds to that existing liability. It covers how compliance with FSMA can help in the event of a lawsuit. Produce safety rule inspections and third-party audits. This fact sheet describes the history and differences between an audit and an inspection. And finally, alternatives and variances to the produce safety rule. This fact sheet describes the FSMA PSR provisions that an alternative or a variance would apply to, who is eligible to develop an alternative or variance, the approval process for both, and the high burden of supporting either an alternative or a variance with credible scientific and technical evidence. As I mentioned, a great amount of work went into this project, and I'm very happy to share these results with you. There will be a few more fact sheets coming out later this summer. Decision Support Tool. This project was funded in 2019 through a USDA AFRI and aims to develop efficient decision-making tools for small and medium-sized diversified fruit and vegetable growers in the Northeast. This will be a risk-based decision support tool used to create a prioritized action plan specific to farms, operations, and hazards. This data-based tool will be used in conjunction with the already developed GAPS decision trees with the goal of increasing producer knowledge and improved decision-making and prioritization skills. The tool will enable growers to implement a produce safety strategy in a time and cost-efficient way, helping them to meet regulatory and market access requirements. This interactive web-based tool is expected to be completed later this year. Online Buyer's Handbook. Kneecaps received funding in 2019 FSOP program to develop an intuitive and interactive handbook that gives Northeast produce buyers a clear snapshot of the current produce safety landscape, from relevant produce safety standards to local certification and audit programs. This interactive web-based tool is expected to be completed later this year. The Food Safety Resource Clearinghouse. There are now 516 resources on the Food Safety Resource Clearinghouse. Usage is steadily increasing, and you can see a summary of this usage under the Resources tab of the conference site. This past year, we partnered with the Western Regional Center to incorporate a peer review process of add-on and supplemental material. 2 pilot reviews were completed, and the process is expected to be open for peer review submission in late March. Additionally, you can now sign up by following a button on the Clearinghouse to receive weekly emails of new Clearinghouse content additions. Finally, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce you all to the new members of the Kneecaps team. Annie Fitzgerald joined Kneecaps full-time in October and supports the Preventive Controls Work Group. With a master's in Library and Information Science, Annie is leading the collection and cataloging of preventive controls resources to create a roadmap for small and very small processors. She will present more on this work during the Preventive Controls Work Group meeting. On the produce side, Johanna Doran joined the team full-time in the middle of January. With a master's in Food and Agriculture Law and Policy, Johanna will be leading a project to summarize and extend existing produce safety published research. Much of the discussion over the next 2 days will help inform this work, and there'll be more discussion on this during the Produce Safety Work Group meeting. Lastly, Sean Fogarty joined the team part-time just a couple of weeks ago. With a master's focusing on water quality and produce safety and recirculating aquaponics, Sean is providing subject matter expertise and guiding work on food safety practices, resource development in aquaponic and hydroponic operations. Together, Sean and Johanna are working on this project in the near term. I am so pleased to welcome Annie, Johanna, and Sean to Kneecaps. Next, I'm going to frame the agenda for our annual meeting over the next 2 days. This morning, we will break into concurrent produce safety and preventive controls workgroup meetings. Following that, please join the poster presenters for a virtual live poster session. Please sit down and chat about posters and go to each poster icon on the conference page and join a table to connect with partners and hear about these projects. We will then break for lunch and come back in the afternoon for, again, concurrent produce safety and preventive controls workgroup meetings. To end the day, we hope that you will join in the networking opportunity. Just go to the networking tab on the conference site and sit down at one of the tables to connect with partners across the region. We'll be back tomorrow morning with morning coffee networking, followed by federal updates from the FDA and USDA. Again, we will break out into produce safety and preventive controls workgroup meetings and then break for lunch. We will come back together in the afternoon for a report out and closing remarks. Expectations for the meeting are the same as they are when we're in person, and we've provided networking opportunities so that folks can hopefully find the time to connect with partners, meet new collaborators and peers, ask questions, share resources and experiences. In our workgroup meetings, we have arranged the agenda so that there are several breakout group sessions. And we really encourage everybody to engage in these discussions actively, bring your perspective, and provide your thoughts and experiences to that discussion. This workgroup approach with breaking out along produce safety and preventive control rule subject line is intended to provide time together to move topics along through dialogue. And again, these breakout sessions that are in the agenda are intended to promote co-discovery and to hatch new plans and projects. And so we really want everyone to bring their perspective and, as I mentioned, engage in discussion as we do every year when we're in person. So I would like to say thank you for joining us virtually this year, and we look forward to a great Kneecaps annual conference and meeting. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. And we are excited to now launch into the rest of the annual meeting. And before we break out into our workgroup meetings, I would like to just encourage everybody to take some time to navigate the conference portal. We have got several opportunities for networking and for connecting with poster presenters built into the agenda. So if you did not participate this morning in the networking during morning coffee, that's no problem. We have another opportunity after the session ends today to go to the networking tab on the conference portal and join a table and sit down and have a conversation with some of our friends and colleagues from across the region. As you know, we really enjoy the networking aspect, and it's often ranked as the top thing that's most beneficial to our network at our annual meeting. And so we tried to create that in this virtual setting to provide an opportunity to meet new people, to share information, and just share stories with our friends and colleagues. And so that is, again, if you go to the conference portal, there's a tab on the top as marked as networking, and you click on that and you can join a table and sit down and connect. That is this afternoon after we conclude our afternoon meetings, and again for another morning coffee networking session tomorrow. We also have posters posted on the conference portal, and this afternoon at 11:30 we will have a live poster session. So you can go to those posters, and if you open it inside, again there are little tables, and you can sit down and have conversations with the presenter of the poster and others about that work. And so that, again, is something we like to do when we're in person, is take the opportunity to talk about projects and hear work that's going on. And so this is something that you can access through the portal. The other thing is that there are resources posted. You may recall we normally have a very extensive conference program that we print out and hand out to everybody. And so this year, all of those contents are posted on the conference portal under the resources tab. So that's where you'll find a PDF copy of all of the agendas, the pre-post test data, the clearinghouse information, the recently and funded projects, research projects from across the region and other resources. So please take some time to go and check out that information. That's your conference program and individual files on the portal. I would like to thank the facilitators as we go into our work group meetings. They have quite a heavy burden today and tomorrow facilitating these conversations and the breakouts. And I really appreciate the time and effort that they are going to put into providing that facilitation of those groups. And again, if you have any opportunity, please just take that time to connect and meet new people. Even though we're virtual this year, we hope that we can still find time to make those connections, share resources, build our trusting relationships, continue to do the good work, and enjoy each other's company, even though it's virtual this year. And so with that, I will conclude this morning, and we'll go into our concurrent produce safety work group and preventive controls for human food work group meetings. And to do that, there will be a live slide that comes up on your screen, and you can click on it to go directly into the work group meeting you would like to attend. And so I would like to say thank you to everybody for joining us, and I look forward to the next day and a half of productive work group meetings and discussion. Thank you.